11 days have passed since Joni Lamb's passing, and the Christian community is holding its breath, because right now, 3 burning questions are dominating every conversation. First, will Jonathan Lamb show up to his own memorial service? Second, should Jonathan step into the leadership role at Daystar, just as Marcus intended? And third, did Daystar's board just execute a calculated power move to shut Jonathan out for good? We're breaking all of it down today. Jonathan's decision about the memorial, the growing petition demanding he take the helm, the eye-opening documents revealing a dramatic shift in Daystar's power structure, and what it all means for the road ahead. Let's get into it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Joni Lamb's memorial service is set at Gateway Church in South Lake, Texas. Viewing at 1 p.m., service at 3 p.m. And the question on everybody's lips is simple: will Jonathan be in that room? According to investigative journalist Julie Roys, who spoke directly with Susie Lamb, here's what unfolded in the moments after Joni passed.
Jonathan, who was estranged from his mother, wasn't given the opportunity to say goodbye. I reached out to Jonathan's wife, Susie, Thursday afternoon, and she said Jonathan was in shock. She said nobody called him until the social media post on Thursday afternoon. And we know that it wasn't a family member who called him. It was Tom Callender, a longtime board member at Daystar TV.
Let that sink in for a moment. Jonathan didn't hear from his sisters. He heard from a board member, and not just any board member, Tom Callender, the very same man who 3 years ago pressured Jonathan into signing an NDA, the same man who tried to muzzle him, silence him, and make him disappear. That's the person who picked up the phone to tell Jonathan his mother was gone. Not Rachel, not Rebecca, Tom Callender.
If you followed this story, you know that Tom Callender was the one who tried to strong-arm Jonathan into signing an NDA 3 years ago. Jonathan wasn't falling into line with affirming his mother's marriage to Doug Weiss. Jonathan, as you know, is a man of conviction, and he wasn't going to bless a man divorcing his wife of 30-some years to marry his mother. But the board wanted to make sure that Jonathan was muzzled, and thank God he wasn't. Jonathan stood up to them, and that's why Joni eventually fired Jonathan.
And then came the gut punch. According to reports, Tom Callender delivered one final message alongside the news, that it was Joni's own wish that Jonathan not be contacted at all. A mother's final wish about her own son.
We're also hearing today that Tom communicated that it was Joni's wish that Jonathan not be contacted.
Just sit with that for a moment. Joni Lamb, in her final hours, allegedly made it known that her firstborn son should not be reached, should not be called, should not be given the chance to say goodbye. Jonathan never got that moment. No final words, no closure, just silence, and then a phone call from a board member after she was already gone. So the question remains, will Jonathan show up to the memorial? Julie Roys, who has followed every twist of this story for years, shared something that is genuinely difficult to hear.
I have 3 kids, 4 grandkids, and a 5th on the way. And as much as I love the work that I do, I cannot fathom letting it come between me and my children or grandchildren. Thank God I'm not estranged from any one of them, but if I were, I can't imagine anything I'd want more on my deathbed than to reconcile. Even if that meant I had to do all the apologizing, it wouldn't matter. I just want to leave this world on good terms.
And that's what makes this entire situation so devastating. Joni died with a wall between her and her son. The son Marcus had specifically chosen to inherit Daystar, and by all accounts, she wanted that distance to remain right up until the end. But while the world debates whether Jonathan will walk through those memorial doors, something else is quietly gaining momentum. A petition is making the rounds, calling on Jonathan to step up and lead Daystar. It goes by the title, A Respectful Appeal for Jonathan Lamb's Leadership at Daystar, and it was put forward by Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, a former Daystar host who walked away from the network after witnessing the corruption firsthand. Here's what the petition actually says. This petition has been created to respectfully give a voice to viewers, supporters, ministry partners, and members of the Christian community who care deeply about the future of Daystar. For many of us, Daystar has been more than just a television network. It has been a source of encouragement, faith, hope, prayer, and spiritual connection through many seasons of life. Because of that, we sincerely desire to see the ministry move forward with renewed unity, trust, wisdom, and strength for the next generation. We believe Jonathan Lamb carries many of the qualities needed to help lead Daystar into its next chapter. A deep connection to the vision, heart, and legacy of Daystar. A genuine understanding of the ministry and its audience. The ability to help restore unity, stability, and forward momentum. A voice and leadership style that resonates with many viewers today. A heart for ministry and a connection with both longtime and newer generations of supporters. By signing this petition, we are peacefully and respectfully expressing our desire to see Jonathan Lamb placed in a greater leadership role and ultimately considered as a future leader of Daystar. This petition is not about division, hostility, or attacking anyone. It is simply an opportunity for viewers and supporters to respectfully and peacefully share their hopes concerning the future direction of the network. We are grateful for the impact Daystar has had over the years and believe the future can continue to be strong, faith-filled, and impactful for generations to come. If you believe Jonathan Lamb could play an important role in helping lead Daystar forward, we invite you to sign this petition and let your voice be heard. Scrolling through the comments on that petition paints a pretty clear picture. People are torn right down the middle. One camp is firmly behind Jonathan stepping in. It's what Marcus wanted, they say, and that should count for something. The other camp disagrees just as strongly, arguing that Daystar is too far gone, too deeply compromised, and that Jonathan would be better served building something new from the ground up. Now, Julie Roys weighs in on all of this, and her argument is one worth paying close attention to.
Friends, Daystar is a ministry. Marcus Lamb didn't own Daystar. Joni Lamb didn't own Daystar. Ministries belong to God. They're not family businesses that pass to children as an inheritance. That thinking is so wrong, yet it dominates evangelicalism.
She backs it up with real examples. Sarah Jakes Roberts stepped into her father T.D. Jakes' role at Potter's house. Jonathan Evans followed his father Tony Evans at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. And then there's Sarah Davis, who inherited Ravi Zacharias' ministry, a ministry that later imploded under the weight of scandal. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Because while everyone is busy debating whether Jonathan should take over Daystar, Daystar has already quietly made sure that he can't. Let me walk you through the documents. This is a T3010 registered charity information return for Daystar Television Network Canada. Look at the dates carefully. On February 29, 2024, Jonathan was removed from the Daystar board, and Joni took his seat. This happened less than a year after Joni married Doug in June 2023. She didn't waste time. Jonathan was methodically locked out. Then, on May 7, 2026, Joni dies, and the result? Jonathan is still locked out. Doug and Rachel are now circling each other, fighting for control, and Marcus's wishes completely buried. Now let me share where I personally land on all of this, because I've been wrestling with it for the past 10 days. Yes, Jonathan is Marcus's son. Yes, Marcus wanted him to lead. Yes, Jonathan was the one who stood for what was right when everyone around him chose to compromise. Yes, he was pushed out for protecting his daughter, which was absolutely the right thing to do. On every moral level, Jonathan has a legitimate claim to Daystar's leadership. But, and this is a significant but, Daystar is broken at its core. The business model is rotten, built on charging ministries for airtime so they can turn around and exploit their viewers. The theology is compromised, saturated with prosperity gospel heresy. The governance is a mess. Family members sitting on the board, the CFO holding a board seat, zero meaningful accountability. The culture is poisoned by cover-ups and spiritual abuse. And the leadership? Doug Weiss, an outsider who engineered his way into the inner circle. Rachel, who has always had her eye on power, and a board that looked the other way through it all. Could Jonathan untangle all of that? Possibly, but it would cost him years, maybe decades of his life. And there's something Julie Roy said that I genuinely cannot stop thinking about. Ministries are not family businesses. The moment we start treating them like they are, everything begins to rot. Family succession in ministry is a breeding ground for corruption because the next generation grows up feeling entitled to the seat rather than called to it. So here's where I land. I don't think Jonathan should take over Daystar. I think he should walk away and let it collapse on its own. Let Doug and Rachel fight over whatever's left. Let the board that enabled every bit of this face the consequences they earned. Let the ministries that stayed at Daystar despite knowing better deal with the fallout. And Jonathan should build something new, a new ministry, a new mission, a new foundation, one rooted in truth rather than image, in righteousness rather than revenue, in Jesus rather than celebrity. That's my take. You're welcome to see it differently. So where does this all go from here? Will Jonathan show up to the memorial? Will he attempt to take over Daystar? Legally, he can't. He's already been removed from the board. Will the petition move the needle? Maybe, but 747 signatures going up against a multi-million-dollar corporate machine? The odds aren't encouraging. Here's what I believe should happen. If Jonathan feels led to attend his mother's memorial, he should go. Grieve, find closure, and then let Daystar go. Walk away, build something new on a foundation that actually holds. But that's just my perspective. What do you think? Drop it in the comments. Should Jonathan take over Daystar or start completely fresh? Will he attend the memorial? If you were in his shoes, what would you do? And let's remember to pray for the Lamb family, all of them. Even in the middle of something this painful, God is still capable of bringing something redemptive out of it. Be blessed, y'all, and don't forget to subscribe and be part of our community.